And we are live, up internet, and welcome to Black Sofa. And today we're talking about Attack of the Clones with
Attack of the Sand.
and I've got some.
It's kind of funny now. There's two straw men in here.
Yes.
So I've got some friends with me. Do you want to introduce yourselves? Starting with TGI.
I'm the Godless Iowan. I'm a former Pentecostal pastor, and now I'm on YouTube and doing this stuff and talking about Star Wars. So my life has gotten much better. Much, much better. But yeah, check out my channel and subscribe to me.
Okay. Strawman.
And I am Strawman Atheist. As I've said it before, I'm a former Southern Baptist and a musician and a sort of YouTuber, even though I don't have time for it half the time. Hello?
Hello? Yeah.
Oh, my mic went weird.
Oh, okay.
It started doing weird things. Sorry. And yeah, sorry. I'm
okay. Frustrated atheist.
I am frustrated atheist, and I am sick as a dog right now. But I have a YouTube channel, and go ahead and go check it out if you like. More content will be up as soon as I'm done with this dreaded whatever the hell it is.
AIDS.
Pig AIDS.
Uh-huh.
It's pig AIDS. That's exactly what it is.
Oh dear. Well, thanks for joining us despite having the dreaded lurgy, and I hope you can hang in here with us, and then but then get plenty of rest and fluids and medicine.
Unfortunately, I'm at work, so none of that's going to happen. It's pretty much suck it up until you get home, and then you can go ahead and go die if you'd like.
Oh,
suck it up, cupcake.
Exactly.
And hopefully, we're hoping to have Cirrus the Great with us a bit later, and the Bad-Tempered Badger. But until they show up, let's get on with it with this discussion about. Last time we were talking about Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and this time we're talking about Episode 2, The Attack of the Clones. So we'll start off with all the good things about the film. Godless Iowan, what were your best parts about the Attack of the Clones? What are the good bits about it?
Well, one of the best things about Attack of the Clones is there is no pod racing. So that's a plus. It had some decent fight scenes that I enjoyed. And did I mention no pod racing?
You didn't like the pod races?
Oh, the pod races were come on. Who needed that long of a pod race? No one.
Did you really want the rest of the movie to be filler with the kid talking?
No.
I'd much rather have the fucking, what is it? The song that Weird Al did for the thing playing throughout the entire show.
I'm just saying,
than to have any of that kid talking.
We could have gotten like 20 more minutes of Qui-Gon Jinn into the film.
Oh yes, Qui-Gon was the best part of Episode 1.
To the damn pod races. Oh. I have PTSD because of the pod races.
Yeah, PTSD because of the pod race.
Oh dear. I personally could have done without Episode 1. I think they could have summed episode 1 up in that blurb, they usually have it at the beginning. That could have been all summed up in the blurb at the beginning of episode 2, thus making episode 2 episode 1.
Yes, they could have. They could have had Star Wars episode 2. Darth Vader was once a little bitchy ass kid that rode pod races, and then he became. Then he started training to be a Jedi. This is how it started.
Yes, and then we wouldn't have had all that boring bullshit about the trade disputes and the stockade and what was that all about? That was boring as hell.
Because when people watch Star Wars episode 4 through 6, they were like, what we need is to understand the economics of the empire.
This was an econ class. George
Yes.
Lucas took an econ class.
George Lucas watched a Ron Paul video and was like, this is what we need.
Yes.
Better than Ron Jeremy.
Well, that's debatable. Oh dear. Any more good things about Attack of the Clones?
Huh.
Made some pretty awesome games out of it.
Yeah. Some of the games from Attack of the Clones were good.
That's the thing. The whole film looked a bit like a computer game. And
Well, that's
Bad-Tempered Badger with us. Good evening.
Good evening.
that's what I was going to say is, as much as I hated the pod racing in the movie, the pod racing game was fun as hell.
Oh yeah.
I never got to
I never
play
played
it.
it.
I played it on a
What about-
Nintendo 64 with a broken stick, so it was
Yep.
awful but good.
What about that racing game?
Mm-hmm.
I used to play that a lot.
So did I.
Used to be there. I think we were doing it split screen, something.
See,
Since we're talking about the good bits, I feel we need to talk about Yoda getting his little stick out.
huh.
His
And
little lightsaber.
now this is a hentai.
I'm okay with this.
But I remember when I went to see it at the cinema, that when Yoda got out his lightsaber, everyone gasped. There was a gasp that went, through the whole cinema. It was amazing. It was an amazing atmosphere. But what did you guys think? Did we need to see Yoda dazzle us with his lightsaber skills?
I don't have a problem with that one. I thought it was kind of a cool thing.
He did a lot of flipping.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he had to make up for his size somehow.
Yes.
I don't
I
have
didn't
exact-
expect the
exactly
agility.
I don't have exactly a problem with it, but I think overall Star Wars saga would have been better served without it.
Yeah. Because
As far as other things that I liked, I didn't mind the fight between Obi-Wan and Count
Dooku.
what is it? Dooku. There you go.
Count
I don't
Dooku did
remember how to
nothing wrong.
pronounce it.
No, he just wanted to build the Death Star.
Yeah.
how many
But yeah.
how many costume changes did Padme have? in this film.
Oh my god.
Too many.
Everyone else gets like one set of clothes. She gets like 30.
Well, she is a princess, so I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense for her to have so many change of clothes. But seriously, I mean, God, it's like what the fuck are you gonna come in next? Like seriously, why so many?
I think that's why you become a center for the wardrobe.
But I mean, not only that, did Padme age at like a 10th of what Anakin did?
I know, right?
Yes.
Oh my god, it was like, oh, hey, here they are with a clear, distinctive age difference in Phantom Menace, and then in Attack of the Clones, oh hey, look, they're not that far away in age after all. It's like,
Mhm.
the fuck is this shit?
Yeah.
Yeah,
She was
they were
about
supposed.
10 years
I think we
older.
talked about. I think we talked about it. It's supposed to be like they were supposed to be like 4 or 5 years apart, and instead they were like 12.
Yes.
And then in the second one, it's like, oh hey, look, no, there really are 4 or 5 years apart. See this?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh my god, like really, guys,
She's the creepy babysitter.
right?
She groomed him.
Right? Right?
Oh my god.
Don't
It's
look at
just
me
that whole
like that,
entire
Anakin.
that whole entire love interest just I just couldn't see it. I just couldn't see it.
It's too much sand.
They didn't have a huge amount of chemistry.
No, they didn't
No.
at all.
And then the dinner scene on Naboo where the pair literally just floats to the like. It's like, could you have not used a? I mean, you guys created some of the best animatronic props. You couldn't have made a realistic looking pair instead of CGI.
No.
Lordy.
Yeah. What were the other good bits? Or what were the best bits?
Oh, the whole film.
I don't. The whole film. I think, as an overall, the film was to be honest. I mean, but as far as the extremely good bits, I really, to be honest, don't really remember much to see any really good bits.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about it is excuse me, sorry. Here's my take. Episode 2 did everything right that episode 1 didn't, but it did it in a poor fashion.
Yes.
Like it was just thrown together. It seemed like that. It was like, okay, so you want more fights, you want more action, you want more interest between Anakin and Padme. Here you go, but we're going to do it in such a crappy fashion. You're not going to care about any of these characters by the end.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And
Yeah, and
what?
it just none of it.
I feel like it started off strong and then just went slow. It just crawled to the end. And then it kicks off with the battle at the end. I wanted more fighting.
Yeah. I mean, the battle at the
More
end
fighting
was
would
cool.
have been great. Oh yeah.
That was the best part.
Yeah.
What do people think about Samuel L. Jackson's pink lightsaber?
It was purple.
Oh,
Yeah, it was
oh,
purple.
excuse me, purple.
You will. Oh my goodness! I don't even know if I can be in the stream anymore. Lightsaber colors, man.
See, the thing with Samuel L. Jackson is, you get Samuel L. Jackson in your film, you got to play along with him a little bit because you've got Samuel L. Jackson in your film.
Yes.
Yeah. But, like, here was my thing. Why did they have all the... Samuel L. Jackson was basically a bit player in the movie. in the first movie, you had Qui-Gon Jinn was a bit player. They were the cool characters. Like, people wanted to know more about Samuel L. Jackson's character. They just don't give it to you.
No.
No.
I kept expecting him to say, "I've had enough of these motherfucking clones."
Yeah.
I'm tired of these motherfucking clones on this motherfucking Naboo.
Anyone seen the meme somebody did where he turns up at the Senate? Not the Senate, turns up at the Chancellor's office. I've had it with these motherfucking Sith on this motherfucking Senate.
Although I gotta say, I do like the fact that they did not play Samuel L. Jackson as his stereotypical role. I do like that.
Yeah.
They could have had him in there doing his stereotypical lines, and everyone would be like, "Okay, he's just the token big namer for the show to just kind of get people interested. Oh, look, Samuel L. Jackson's here. Yeah, look at him. Look at him. This is a good movie. Look at him."
Yeah.
He was really calm and collected, unlike other
Yeah.
movies he's in. That was.
Do you think that was a harder role for him to play than the roles that he's used to?
I don't know, because I've heard that he doesn't actually like playing the angry black guy role, but he just kind of he's so good at it.
Yeah.
That he's been placed in those roles time and time again.
I mean, he was good
he
at
has
it
been
from
a
Pulp
bit
Fiction
typecast.
on.
Well, it's kind of what he's known for.
Mhm.
Like, my favorite Samuel L. Jackson scene ever is, have you guys seen Deep Blue Sea?
Yes.
No,
Okay. Where
Is it the scene wherever he's talking and then all of a sudden
he's giving him this pep talk. We're gonna do this. We're gonna take out this, and then the shark comes through and eats him.
Spoiler alert,
I
by the
love
way.
that part.
I didn't see that. I didn't see that coming.
Spoiler alert, by the way, everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
spoiler alert for the 20-year-old film. If you haven't seen that movie yet, sorry.
It's on you. It's on you.
It's on. Hell, it's on fucking Netflix. Get on Netflix and go watch it, damn it. I watched it, I think a couple of weeks ago.
okay.
It's a great film. I love that film, actually. It's cheesy,
is.
but it's awesome.
It's extremely cheesy.
Like, it's good
extremely
cheesy.
far-fetched.
Star Wars Episode 2 is just bad cheesy.
Yeah.
Like-
Okay. Sorry, go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, at some point we're gonna get to the sand. I know we're gonna get to the sand, and that's the worst part of the film.
It is.
I did like when Anakin just went roid rage and killed everyone.
Well, yeah.
And
Finally.
Anakin
we
goes
have,
roid
finally,
rage
we have
and kills
Cirrus
everyone.
in the room.
Hey!
Holy
So-
fuck, Sarah. It just took you forever.
Well, I
Mr.
did just spend
Cirrus.
15 minutes trying to get a camera to function that isn't functioning anymore, so I'm perfectly happy with all of my hardware dying.
Well, that's
Oh,
good.
Standing.
Yay.
Okay, then. So we're talking about all the good bits of episode 2. What were the good parts for you, Cirrus?
Oh, shit. Well, I guess if we're in this conversation, then
Hello?
I think
I
he
guess
muted,
microphone
he muted
died as well.
himself. No, he muted himself on purpose.
He's like, oh, well, fuck you guys.
Screw you guys, I'm going home.
no, I'm basically saying that if you're
There
asking
was
me to
nothing.
find good bits in Attack on the Clones, I'm going to go ahead and say that the good bits were sand.
The end.
I said the whole film.
I think that sand was the good bits because it's it's coarse and it gets everywhere.
Oh, shut up, Cirrus. I hated that.
No, but in all honesty, what things did episode 2 do well? It did the Battle of Geonosis. Yeah. There was the Battle of Geonosis.
Lovely.
That was really good.
Well, also there
Don't
was
lie,
no-
Sirius. You love the dynamic between Padme and Anakin. That was your favorite thing.
Okay, look, just so you know, I have 4 strips of bacon left in my house right now. 4. Do you know how long that will take me to get through? Well, about 5 minutes. And don't worry, frustrated. I have a plan to get more bacon.
He has pig AIDS right now, so it's a bad idea.
yeah.
That would be a
I
very
will
bad
cook the
idea.
AIDS right out. I will cook the pig AIDS right out. Don't worry. And I never said that I was planning on eating the bacon. I can feed it to Iowan. It's okay.
Hey, would you guys would you agree that episode 2 is good because it's not episode 1?
Yes.
You see,
Yes.
I dispute you on that.
I can't
Because-
say something is good because it is not something else that is arguably worse.
Well-
I can't.
Better.
Okay, that's like saying okay, hear me out. That's like saying, would you not say that S.J. Thomason is good because she is not Steven Anderson?
No.
Would you say that?
No.
Okay, then we're going to hold the same standard to Star Wars. Now, if you want my
But wait. If
Well, which one's better,
if-
Iowan? Horse shit or cow shit?
if Steven Anderson preached WoW pod racing, then I would say yes.
Okay, first of all, Iowan.
Those
Now
crazy Australian parachuted his way in.
now this is pod
What's up?
racing.
Hello.
Okay,
So,
so
Nacha?
the truth of the matter, though, the best thing to come out of Star Wars Episode 2 was the Clone Wars, both of them.
I'll agree with you there.
Yes.
However,
Yeah.
I will dispute you on episode 2 being better than episode 1, and I will tell you why. Episode 1, it looked like they were actually in the environments they were in. Episode 2, and also episode 3, looked like they were badly green screened into every scene.
Yeah.
That is true.
Like I was saying earlier, the whole thing looked like a video game.
Whereas in
That's-
episode 1, they had actual sets.
I will say, I don't think that the sets in Episode 2 ever looked horrible to me. In fact, actually, as far as CG environments go, the only environment that didn't seem convincing to me was when they were battling Count Dooku in Episode 3, and he threw freaking Obi-Wan when he threw Obi-Wan to the rafter, and the rafter crumpled under him. That was PlayStation 1 era CG.
Yeah.
But as far as Episode 2 goes, though, I will say that it had cringier dialogue that was less forgivable, because in Episode 1 the cringy dialogue came because a bad director was handling a bad child actor, right?
Yeah.
In Episode 2, Hayden Christensen is a damn good actor. He's just horrible in Episode 2.
Yeah, he's not good in the Star Wars films.
If an actor can be a good actor, it means they are a good actor. They just have a bad director when they're not a good actor.
But he
What's a turd?
he can't look menacing.
Iowan?
He can, and he does look menacing when he's slaughtering all the sand people.
When Hayden Christensen's mouth closes, you can see Darth Vader come out of him.
See, I don't even see that.
Watch episode 3, and look, like, actually, when you're watching the battle with him and Obi-Wan, he portrays the hatred and the pain that he's going through perfectly on his face. But as soon as you turn the audio on, that's when it all goes away.
I don't know. I always think he just looks like he needs to find a shitter.
You're confusing. Sorry, you're confusing Star Wars with Dragon Ball Z.
No. He's just constantly.
All right. Here's the thing for you. Anakin Skywalker. He survives having all his limbs cut off, being set on fire and burnt in lava, dragged out, has all kinds of prosthetics attached to him, he survives. Padme gets sad and dies.
I know.
Padme is not a Jedi. I will at least say that Padme is not a Jedi, and even with our current technology, women in grief still die in childbirth.
What? Why did she die, though? Does it say?
Because of a
women in
broken
grief
heart.
dying in childbirth.
She was
What?
sad.
Like,
Dude,
not only
that's-
in the books, I believe it actually explains that
Oh,
part of.
fuck the books.
Fuck the books.
Okay, first off, Iowan. First off, why? Why fuck
Why?
the books?
Why should you have to read the book to understand something in the movie?
Nobody should have to read a book to understand something in a movie. However, if you're asking for an area where it's explained and I can give you an example of it and you're denying it, then I would like you to please stop using young Earth creationists and Jehovah's Witnesses levels of logic.
Oh!
Now that we're
See, it's all in the sacred scripture of the books, Iowan.
Yeah, we'll go to the sacred scriptures and the philosophy of the classical
The
theists.
sacred texts.
But no, my point is I believe if I remember when I read the book correctly, it explained at least in part that her throat actually got partially collapsed during the actual shit with Anakin because he was force choking her, and that led into her death.
And
Not
that's
explain-
why she
not-
was talking
But-
perfectly normal.
The thing is,
Bad acting is
Oh, I
bad
know.
acting.
Yep, I agree. And also bad directing.
All I know is that y'all underestimate his power.
Hey! From my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
When you are lost!
in Return of the Jedi, didn't Leia say that she remembered her mother?
She remembered Bale's wife.
Mhm.
Yeah, Bail Organa's wife.
Also,
She never really mentioned her mother as one of her. She didn't know that she was adopted. Like, I don't think there's ever a point where she knew she was adopted until like after Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Back to episode 2. We have to talk more about this when we talk about episode 3. But back to episode 2, Attack of the Clones. What were the bad bits? What did they get wrong?
How long is the movie?
All of it. Just all of it.
So that is say, how long is the movie? Okay, please take that amount of time, and that was the bad parts.
I'd say out of the prequels, episode 2 was the least interesting. And also,
I can agree with that.
the source of the least fun prequel memes.
Well, I could disagree with that. I think that you could have episode 2 be episode 1, then you have episode 3 be episode 2, and then you have Darth Vader and the Emperor building the Empire with episode 3. And that would have been awesome.
What I would have liked to
However,
have seen-
there's a lot of different dynamics that you would have to see.
Hello?
The phone.
I
The
will
phone's
be,
ringing.
I will be honest. There actually is so there's a thing that never really gets explained terribly well in any of the Star Wars movies, and it's how Vader came to actually start hating Palpatine. And you don't really it never explains it outside of, oh no, he's wanting me to kill my son. This has never been a problem for me before, but suddenly it is. So when Iowan said that, he thinks that the movies would have been structured better if they were structured, with them building the Empire as the third movie. I believe there's a book called Rise of Darth Vader that is basically what that third movie should have been. And it explains some shit that makes it make a lot more sense that Vader would have been constantly fucking hating Palpatine. Because when Palpatine made his suit, he actually fucking gimped it. Like
He fucked him right over with that suit.
Yeah, he made it to where Anakin was having to constantly tweak and modify the suit so that he could even move in it properly. He purposefully made Anakin weaker by putting him in the Vader suit, to the point where there were there were points in that book where he was fighting apprentices and the apprentices almost got the upper hand on him because he just couldn't deflect lightsaber attacks.
Now, there's one scene in either a book or whatever where he was with the Palpatine, and he's fighting off all these creatures, and General Palpatine
That's the one where they
just
get
leaves him
stranded
for
on the
dead.
planet, isn't it?
I think so, and he just leaves
Yeah.
him there for dead, and freaking Vader uses all of his strength to get himself up, fight these. I think it was with the Ewoks, or it might have been another.
It wasn't
group of creatures.
Ewoks. It was like they were like giant bugs, and that's why they couldn't
Yeah.
just lightsaber them down, because the keratin shells were preventing them from actually doing a lot of damage.
This is in
And
the
so he had to use the Force to sustain himself and
Wait.
kill these creatures as he goes off to the
Yeah,
to
that's
where General Palpatine was.
Sith
Can I-
Lords.
Can I say something? A lightsaber can go straight through steel.
A lightsaber can go through steel, but it can't go straight through cortosis.
Why?
Cortosis, like, okay, so lightsaber beams in the Star Wars universe are basically glorified plasma. Cortosis, which is actually what Mandalorians build their armor out of. So, like, Boba Fett uses Mandalorian. Yes?
The Cortosis and Mandalorian Iron are separate things.
They're separate thing. Well, no, I thought Mandalorian armor was laced with cortosis.
BRB, we'll check.
So I was about to say, I'm fairly certain Mandalorian armor is laced with cortosis, but cortosis is a mineral that they mined way on the outer rim, and when it's processed correctly, it's able to deflect blaster shots to a certain extent. And the same thing with lightsaber attacks. It can deflect, or lightsabers will end up not being able to melt through them unless you have a lot of concentrated energy hitting repeatedly. And the Empire back in Darth Bane's days, they were paying out the ass trying to get cortosis so that they could keep their infantry alive when General Hoth was trying to kill them all with his army of Jedi. But basically, there's two, unless Badger is right that Mandalorian armor is made out of something different. But as far as I remember, there's two things for the most part that prevent you from having lightsaber attacks hurt you the same way that they would anybody else. That's the chitinous shells of obelisks, which Darth Bane ended up having attached to himself for a while, which helped him kill a shit ton of Jedi. And then there's cortosis, and then there's also what's called Mandalorian chains. But like I said, as far as I remember, Mandalorian shit is made out of cortosis. But again, I could be wrong.
Yeah, coming back in, it's separate things.
They're separate things. Okay, so
Yeah,
what is
cortosis can be found on the planets. I'm on Wikipedia here. Cortosis can be found on the planets Dinzo and Odir, and Mandalorian iron is found on Mandalore and its moon.
Okay, so yeah, they are separate things. So then that's at least three substances within the Star Wars universe: Orbalisk shells, Mandalorian steel, and cortosis, which all deflect lightsabers or any type of plasma, really. Based on that, there's nothing that's saying that there couldn't be other things. Like lightsabers and Jedi are not invincible. They are not deities.
Materials will be very slow to be cut.
Of course, they're not invincible. They're pretty easy to kill and wipe out until there's almost none left.
Execute Order 66.
Just get Anakin and a bunch of small little children.
You know what saddens me? The deleted scenes from Episode 3 where they actually showed Anakin entering in and dealing with the little bit of Jedi resistance that was actually in the temple.
Yeah, he's surprised.
They made it.
Shock
They
T.
made it. They made it seem like all he did was go in there and wipe out a bunch of children, and that was it.
Yeah, they did it to make him seem more evil, but like,
Yeah, they didn't do the bit where he was dealing with. I forgot the name of the guy for a minute, but the guy who was the guy who trained everyone else in lightsaber combat, effectively.
was that Plo Koon?
No, not Plo Koon. He has a funny name that I can't pronounce. He was the fight choreographer for a lot of the films who played the character.
Hmm.
And then they cut the scene.
Yeah, I don't know why they cut. See, it says something about Star Wars Episode 2 that it's infinitely more interesting for us to talk about other Star Wars things than Episode 2.
There's so little actual content to it that you have to bring stuff in.
Of course.
I should mention, the Legends continuity is the only continuity I accept.
I honestly, part of me wants to agree with you because there's certain things there's certain like pseudo canon things in Star Wars that are half accepted as canon and half not right now. Like Revan. Revan is accepted as canon because Revan's kyber crystal is what makes up freaking whiny bitch from the new films.
Whiny bitch from the new films. That's every character, isn't it?
Oh, Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren's saber is built off of Darth Revan's old kyber crystal. So Revan is confirmed canon, but the things that Revan did are not canon still. Darth Bane is featured in Star Wars The Clone Wars. So Darth Bane is canon, but the things that Darth Bane did are not considered canon, which is really fucking weird.
Let's just say screw Disney because they've destroyed canon. I don't. Disney's big idea when they brought the Star Wars films back was build a bigger Death Star, put it on a planet this time.
I can't.
It was just awful.
I can't fault them for that though, because
I can. It's awful.
It can be bad, but okay. First of all, the first thing, Star Wars fans are not easily placated.
Oh,
they're
yes,
not.
If you're gonna second that.
If you're gonna sit there and say that Star Wars 8 was okay, then yes, they can. All they did was a bigger Death Star. They were like, "Hey, look, we got this, we got this, we got this. Oh, we got another empire that somehow built up after 40 years or 30 years." And it was all just a replay of Episode 4. Basically.
Well, as far as the Empire is concerned, that's because they had the centrist government that fucked that all over. But I read the books, so who fucking cares, I guess.
Because the Jedi suck!
But point is, with the current films, I don't mind some of the decisions that they've made. The things that I have issue with, like, for instance, Rey is a Mary Sue. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts, Rey's a Mary Sue.
The actor who portrays Rey, I like, but the character can fuck off.
Yeah, like Rey, I'm sorry, no Jedi has ever learned how to do the Jedi mind trick through fucking osmosis. Like that's not happened before.
Is she supposed to be the chosen one?
As far as I know, there's not really a chosen one. Okay, so in Star Wars canon, the idea of a chosen one is really weird because in both instances where a chosen one has been important, so Anakin and Darth Bane, in both instances, the legend of those characters actually being the legend for those characters has been put into question within their own stories both times.
Okay.
So, like with Darth Bane, the Legend of the Sithari was something he actively rejected throughout the entire thing. It just so happened that he kind of killed the guy they thought was going to be the Sithari, and then he fucking hated the Sith, even though he was a Sith. So he killed all the goddamn Sith and ended up doing what the Sithari was supposed to do anyway. And then with Anakin kind of fulfilled the prophecy. He brought balance to the Force. There were only like 1 or 2 Jedi left, and there were 1 or 2 Sith left. But you can see how the entire chosen one narrative in Star Wars is really fucking wonky because they have a really weird way of quote unquote fulfilling prophecy.
Okay.
It's almost like actual prophecies that actual events never really fully fit the prophecy.
Yeah, and that's why the whole chosen one. Star Wars has a really weird way of going about the chosen one story, and that the chosen one portion almost doesn't matter. And I think that's a good thing, honestly, because chosen one stories are stupid. Like, I wasn't very happy that Harry Potter did that eventually.
That's one of the reasons that I have very little interest in new films, is because I'm fucking sick of chosen one stories.
Talk about can we talk about how everyone's so fucking stupid they don't realize that Palpatine is the villain?
Oh,
He did 4 evil head turns in one conversation.
Yes.
Is it possible to learn this power? Not head
From a
turn,
Jedi.
From a Jedi.
From a Jedi. Like, at what point did Anakin go, this guy might be a Sith?
Apparently not
Apparently
right until he
never.
goes. Apparently not right up until the point where Palpatine goes, oh, by the way, not going to say I'm a Sith. But I'm a
But
Sith.
I'm totally unfair.
You know what's really frustrating too? So, Badger, you've read the Plagueis book, right?
Oh god.
I know about it. I'm not sure if I've actually read it. But go on.
So, you know how the whole thing with Anakin was that he was like, I gotta save Padme, and
Yep.
and he's just like, oh yeah, there might be a path to immortality, and I might know it.
Yep.
In the Plagueis book, it goes in to point out that that was the one thing he didn't learn from Plagueis, and only because he went on a fucking like mad tangent.
Oh yeah.
Like, he just went off the fucking handle on him once.
Yeah.
Because
Palpatine just lost his marbles for a bit.
Yeah, Plagueis went to sleep because, like, granted, Plagueis made Palpatine kill his whole family.
Oh
So,
yeah,
like,
yeah. He totally did that.
Like, I get that he needed to be killed. Like,
One of my favorite things from the comparison of the books and films in that era of Star Wars is in the film, Palpatine's there like, did you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? It was an old Sith legend, but actually it was last week.
you know what the worst part about it? You know who was the one who gave him the name Plagueis the Wise? Palpatine. Palpatine gave him the name Plagueis the Wise.
oh man,
And he gave him that name as a fucking pejorative.
it hurts so bad.
That's one of my best. That's one of my favorite things from the canon of the story is just that when he's telling the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise, they probably haven't actually finished cleaning the body out of his office yet.
Really hasn't.
So it's been asked in the chat: are midichlorians canon?
Yes
Oh,
and
dear.
no. Midichlorians are still canon in that they exist. However, the importance of the midichlorians as described in the prequels, that has been kicked to the curb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
They're a lost
We don't
ancient.
midichlorians anymore, do we?
Are you even here, Notcha?
Midichlorians are canon, but I wish they weren't.
yeah. Midichlorians were just dumb.
See, the thing with me is that I don't mind the midichlorians how they are now because they're not important now. So, like, the entire idea that you gotta have the right genes to be a Jedi, that's been thrown out the window. So the fact that they exist now, it doesn't bother me anymore. But when it was like, oh yeah, Yoda's good because he's got like a 900 midichlorian count, and that makes him a good Jedi. Like, wait, what? So you're saying that the Jedi could actually support eugenics now?
Yes.
Well, they did in the Outbound Flight project.
Fair, and it's not like the Empire, and it's not like the Empire didn't support eugenics either, because when they did the, after a while, they realized that the fucking Jango Fett clones were rebelling against them, and they were like, let's just take a bunch of random mercenaries and make stormtrooper clones out of them.
So I have a question. Has anybody here played the Knights of the Old Republic, the games, the Xbox games?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. The thing about those games is it teaches you that being a Sith is way better than being a Jedi, because being a Sith was so much more fun. You just kill everybody.
That's pretty much that's pretty much what the books do too.
That's kind of the path. The whole path to the dark side is easier thing. That's kind of the point of it. There's a lot of
Because it makes it so much easier if you just kill all your enemies instead of leaving them alive.
You don't need to do
this.
Like the greatest part about these games, Frustrated, was like in most RPG games, you'll go up to someone and they'll say, "Yeah, I've got this item you need. Go into this cave. Go into this cave and kill all of these monsters and get my son, and then you can have it." And instead, in this game, you could just be like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna kill you," and just kill him.
That's the thing. That's why the path to the dark side is so alluring. Just because
and then
I could do all these difficult negotiations, or I could just fucking murder everyone.
Yes, and then you could go into the cave and kill the son who also had something cool on him, and so.
Knights of the Old Republic kill both men and children.
Yes.
Note to self: never play an RP game with Iowan.
I should say probably same with me.
Like
things can get quite dark when I role play.
I will say one thing that's great. The books also pretty much portray that whole ideal, but not in the way they intended. I've found that every single Star Wars book that centers around a Sith is infinitely more interesting than the books that center around Jedi.
Definitely.
I'd say a good example of that is books that are from Vader's perspective, and you hear the thoughts in Vader's mind, are some of the darkest and most interesting things that you can read.
Also, the books from Darth Maul's perspective, because the books managed to make Maul interesting.
How much was Maul advertised before the first film, and then he's just dead?
Exactly.
But that was kind of like the anticlimactic way that Boba Fett died.
Yeah, but the difference is
Family Guy made it so much better because whenever they did it, it's like, yeah, we're gonna fight him, and it's like, oh yeah, he died. Yeah, he died.
You know what's weird?
Yeah, he fell in.
It's fucking weird. So in the Star Wars comics, Boba Fett falls into the Sarlacc pit no less than 3 fucking times.
He gets out, and then he's lost his memory because he's been in the Sarlacc pit. And then he gets run over by a sandcrawler and falls in again.
And you know what else? Speaking of weird shit that Boba Fett does in the EU, Boba Fett challenging Vader to a lightsaber duel.
Oh, yeah.
What the hell is that?
Turns out that Boba Fett can hold his own against Vader with a lightsaber.
Well,
how?
He's the Mandalorian. They're trained in vibroblades, so
they're trained in vibroblades, and they're trained specifically to be able to kill Jedi. And Vader was never trained to be a Sith. He was trained to be a Jedi.
My head hurts.
Shall we talk about sand?
Of course we should talk about sand.
I think this entire tangent has been trying to avoid that.
That's the worst part of episode 2 is the sand talk. Like, why is it there? What's the point? It makes no sense. It's just stupid. No one would ever have a conversation like that.
Well, since the film, a lot of people have had that conversation.
Because it's so cringy.
Remember,
well, it's kind of like you and corn, you know. Hey, there's a lot of sand here, you know. Well, let's talk about this sand. Look at the sand.
I don't talk about
sand.
Iowan's just like, I don't like corn. It's grainy and it gets in your teeth.
I'll agree there.
But butter can make it better.
Oh, butter can make corn do wondrous things to Iowan.
Like they could have made that scene so much better if Anakin had just said, "I don't really like sand. Why don't we just fuck here?"
You know what would have made those whole... Okay, so I'm just going to say that the one thing about Anakin that would have made those entire movies better, and it has a lot to do with fucking. It has everything to do with Anakin just being a fucking abortion.
But they really could have done with not giving Anakin a constant rape face.
You know what they could have also done with? Not literally making him a virgin birth.
Hey, but
Yeah.
Anakin had been molested by his babysitter Padme since he was so young.
Also,
So-
they could have done with giving Padme like actual human responses.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, there's a lot of inhuman things that happened in those films. Are you an angel? Okay, Anakin.
Oh,
Okay, creepy kid. Just
And
please
that
get
moment,
this child away from me.
no, that moment, she's like, "I'm gonna fuck this kid."
Yeah.
At that moment, she was like, Catholic priest intensifies.
Oh,
She kind of did look like a nun in that scene.
yes.
None good for Anakin. That's what she was.
And,
Oh.
Anakin did collapse her throat.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh.
that's fair enough.
if I can't use it, no one else can.
Luke, Padme should have swallowed.
and Padme's boobs.
All right.
Okay,
Was there more
that's,
to that sentence?
right.
But they're stupid scene by the fireplace. Oh, Anakin, we can't do this. We can't have a relationship. It's not right. I'm a senator.
She's a politician.
That's what they do, isn't it?
But why? Okay, so what am I supposed to do with this hard-on now?
You know what bothers me so much? So in Star Wars canon, and this is why it's so weird that Anakin had such an issue. In Star Wars canon, there are Jedis who had full families.
Oh, yeah. Like
Obi-Wan
Ki-Adi-Mundi,
was-
for example.
Well, his species allows it, though. It's
Yeah.
like, but
But there's also other Jedi orders that are separate from the main one who don't have the whole attachment.
Obi-Wan was with that Mandalorian. I can't remember her name. He was on Death Watch.
I have an issue with the entire Mandalore arc in the Clone Wars.
You're saying you don't like Darth Maul taking the title of Mandalore?
I don't mind that part as such. My issue is that the way they portrayed Mandalore in that series completely fucked up the continuity of Mandalore in the Republic Commando books.
Well, not to mention there's no Mandalore's mask either. Like, that's not even mentioned in Clone Wars, isn't it?
I don't think it is.
And that was supposed to be a huge thing in Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah.
Okay. But Knights of the Old Republic was like a millennia before.
Yeah.
It was, but the Mandalorians are very, very traditional.
I mean, how long did they have the Darksaber?
Well, like
So many things are more interesting than Episode 2.
the Knights of the Old Republic games were so good compared to the prequels. They were just amazing games.
The best part about the prequels is that they helped spawn the extended universe, and the extended universe is way better than the prequels.
Yes, and once again, screw Disney.
I honestly I think Episode 8 would have been better if J.J. Abrams was still directing it and didn't have another director come in and say, you know, all this script that J.J. Abrams already had written out as something that we can use? Fuck it, burn it.
I'll agree with you there, but I want to add a little caveat to my agreement.
Okay.
That is, it would have been better if J.J. Abrams was still doing it. I am not going to say it would be good.
That's fair.
It would have at least, the story would have at least had some continuity.
They wouldn't have just gone, hey, you remember that Snoke guy that Abrams built up? I don't like him too much. We're just gonna just gonna cut him down. It's okay.
One thing about that, though, I really enjoyed his outfit.
He was a pimping outfit.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about Kylo Ren is basically just the worst parts of Anakin from the prequels. He's just not an interesting character in my mind.
Although he was one of the most Sithy Sith we've ever had.
I like
suppose.
Kylo Ren.
I don't
like
like
few things about them. It's one of the few things about the new ones I do kind of like.
I thought he was just whiny as hell, and it was just ugh.
The whininess makes sense though, because that's one, like in Sith academies, that's something they're actually taught to do.
Ugh.
Academies, they're taught to actually, like, you know, when Kylo Ren freaks the fuck out and starts destroying all of the computer equipment. When I saw that, the first thing that went through my mind was, holy shit, they understand what an actual Sith is finally. Sith are conniving. Sith are what we would deem as evil. But Sith are also they're arrogant, and they're also incredibly impulsive. And that's something that the Star Wars movies never did really well, was show that the Sith were impulsive, especially when you have episode 1, 2, and 3, where you have the Jedi Order that are meant to be, you know, these stoic people, where they're the opposite of impulsive, but then you've got the Sith that aren't shown as being impulsive either. Now you're just showing a fucking mirror.
The only Sith that you see in the actual films, you got Darth Maul, who's a bit impulsive, who says 2 lines in the entire film.
And Darth Maul's not even really a Sith, because he's not even like he's a Sith in title, but I believe when Palpatine bought him, he specifically said that he's going to be my enforcer, but he's never going to be my apprentice.
I think Plagueis was still the master at that point.
Plagueis was still the master, but they had also done away with the rule of 2. Plagueis's master did away with the rule of 2 before Plagueis killed him. And Plagueis wanted that to be the case because Plagueis was searching for immortality. That's how he learned how to manipulate organic matter to stay alive, and that's how the whole scene from episode 3 even happened, where they were like, hey, do you know the legend of Darth Plagueis the Wise? All that stemmed from him wanting to be immortal, and he wanted to be immortal because it helped circumvent the rule of 2. He had no intention of dying. He was a banker. Holding on to his assets is what he did.
Well, being alive is an asset for a banker.
It is.
Yeah.
Until you go bankrupt and then you pretend to be dead.
Yes. So, what was the very worst part of episode 2 for people?
The pair.
That's a good question. Oh, the pair.
The CG pair.
The fucking pair.
You didn't like the obvious CG pair?
I didn't like when she stabbed the obvious CG pair and then bit into the obvious CG pair.
If you want to know how to animate food, go watch Spirited Away.
Yes.
The food in that movie makes me hungry, and it's a cartoon.
Exactly.
There's an anime, is it Food Fight or something? Food Wars?
I think I know the one you mean. I think I knew a guy who was obsessed with that for a while.
That's how you animate food. You eat and your clothes burst off and you orgasm.
Okay, but for me, the absolute worst when it comes to episode 2 is the complete lack of chemistry between Anakin and Padme. There's nothing
pretty bad.
Like, why did these people need to get together so desperately?
Yeah.
I'll tell you. No, sorry, go on.
Go on.
No, you go first. I've got a tangent.
Okay, that's fair. I was going to say that typically in stories like that, the characters who have no chemistry but ultimately end up together because of some kind of hardship that brought them together, right? Like something that made it to where, you know, this person gets me on this level. They got the same type of PTSD I have, something like that. They went through one event that lasted all of like an hour. that was the battle at Geonosis. That was like the one thing they shared, because everything else they didn't do together. In episode 1, all of the battling Anakin did, he did either in a pod racer or he did in a spaceship where Padme was not present. The only tragedy they have survived together was the Geonosis event for all of, again, an hour.
In the Clone Wars, they do something about that.
Well, the Clone Wars is actually a good series.
Yeah. Now here's two things. My favorite bad moment that was bad but in a good way that I enjoyed was the line, "You call this a diplomatic solution? No, I call it aggressive negotiations."
Oh.
That actually is good writing, though. Like
Yeah.
that is.
No, but the delivery wasn't quite up to it.
Yeah.
But my favorite, I'd say the best bit of the entire film is the sound that the seismic charges make.
Boom. What the?
The fuck was that?
It was just something to ruin your buzz, Nacha. Don't
Oh
worry.
yeah, Nacha is in this stream.
Yeah, I am here.
Are you
I'm
saying
enjoying
things?
He's our
the
force guy.
conversation.
He's busy masturbating to his wife, Dr. Gaiman.
Actually, speaking of masturbation, Nadine was just kissing herself on a stream.
What?
Yeah. Long
Yeah,
story. She's got her video feed overlaid over her Hangouts pictures, and she was enjoying herself.
Right.
Well, I have many ways that I can enjoy myself, but usually the fastest way for me to lose the boner is by putting on Godless Iowin's channel.
Oh, you know that it's because it's
Googling
instant.
Nadine doesn't get me anywhere.
No, he's saying it's instant orgasm when he hits my channel. It's just bam.
No, it's instant
Boom, and it's
lucidity.
He's like,
It's
oh
just
look,
that-
Godless Iowan has a new video. Oh god damn it, my keyboard shit again.
I used to be able to do that, but then he stopped doing Pentecostal Bible study.
I'm still doing that. I'm still doing that.
I don't see it come up in my feed anymore. That's probably YouTube's fault.
Sorry,
It
it's
will.
lost his bad material.
Blame the YouTube.
We did one with Frustrated Atheist and
No, there was
I
lots
played-
of frustration, I'm sure.
I don't know. I've never heard him be that frustrated. Not even that time when I was in that stream with Deconverted Man and that leopard guy.
I must have missed that
You
one.
don't really fill your namesake very well there, Russ.
Frustrated's died.
He's dead now.
Oh,
Right.
He died of
I was
the lurgy.
got him.
Yeah,
There he
I'm
is.
somewhat dead. I'm somewhat dead, but I'm also talking to the fiance right now.
You remember that stream we were in, don't you, with Deconverted and that leopard guy?
Oh god, fucking jungle jargon.
Oh, jungle jargon.
That shit was fucking terrible.
Wait, was JJ actually in the voice?
Oh yeah.
Yes, he was there in voice, and
God.
he seemed to have this problem understanding that there's such thing as general relativity, but there's also a thing as special relativity.
He's a young,
And he
he's
just-
a young Earth creationist. What do you expect?
Yeah, well, because he was like, and I admitted when I was wrong because I told him that I don't remember exactly what was said, but then I looked it up and he was talking about general relativity, and I was like, yes, that's a thing, but then there's special relativity, and he did not want to have anything to do with that at all because it proved his position wrong.
He
And-
selectively chooses his position.
Of course. Of course. And since special relativity has to do with the light, the way the light travels compared to what time and space do, he was like, no, but you're talking about special relativity. I'm like, yes, and that's still a fucking thing. And he just would not let me talk.
Jungle jargon is your breed of creationist that thinks that amino acids make up DNA.
Oh my
He
god.
left the stream
let me guess,
because
amino
Deconverted kept
acids.
muting him when he was trying to talk over Mr. Frustrated, like I am right now.
No, no.
Yeah, so
Let me talk. No, let me talk. No.
yeah.
Say something.
And it was hilarious because he just kept doing that, and Deconverted Man just kept mute.
You
And
just
finally, he
remember-
got pissed.
You just remember, letting him talk is basically consenting to ear rape.
Yeah.
It was because he said so many wrong things. I was like, no, that doesn't make sense.
So
Where do
just
you
check
get
my
that
cock
from?
mail.
What the fuck does that mean? And he just kept, well, because of this, you can't have this. And I was like, oh my god, you sound like a fucking idiot.
Who would you rather speak with, JJ or an incel?
What is that noise?
Somebody's fapping.
It's probably
Yeah.
my phone.
Here it is.
It's my phone because my fiance is driving and she has me on the phone and you can hear the wind.
Ah,
Ah.
so
Little.
shall we wrap things up? How, which is the very, which is okay, one at a time. What was your favorite part of episode 2 and your worst part of episode 2, starting with Bad Badger?
Right, my favorite part, ignoring, if we ignore the sound of the seismic charges, I'd say my favorite part was Obi-Wan and Count Dooku dueling. And my least favorite part is that fucking pair.
Yes. Frustrated? Oh no, his mic's off.
He's dead.
I mean, I'll take his spot until he gets back.
Not Jar.
My favorite is probably having never seen it. My least favorite is probably all of it.
Sorry, I'm back.
Just a bit of straight up honesty.
Best and worst parts for you for episode 2.
Best part? Oh my god. If I had to pick anything, it would have to be, like I said, Qui-Gon Jinn's encounter with General, with Dooku. Count Dooku.
Qui-Gon Jinn isn't in episode 2.
I mean,
Obi-Wan.
Kenobi, my bad. Yeah,
Obi-Wan.
sorry.
Obi-Wan.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. My only hope.
It was the only
worst
hope.
part? Worst part, I'm gonna have to agree with Badger. It's the fucking pair.
Yes.
They fucking suck together.
Help me, rapist Francis Kenobi. You're my only pope.
Oh,
Cool, man.
yes.
What is your worst part and favorite part?
My favorite part has to be, honestly, it's the.
Seismic charges.
But my favorite part was actually the beginning scene where they're like jumping across the speeders and stuff through the city,
Oh,
Chase-
yeah.
chasing Django's little assistant.
Okay.
And the least favorite part is so far unanimous: the pair.
Nobody fucking likes them.
CG
Pears are like sand. They're coarse and they get everywhere.
So,
Well, if we'd seen it go everywhere, it might have been a better film.
Apparently.
Force push it straight.
serious.
So my favorite part was probably right at the end, where the film stopped. And my least favorite part was probably right at the beginning when the film began.
I like
As soon
that.
as you saw Star Wars, It was like,
I saw.
fuck.
Well, see, the thing is that watching episode 2 is a lot like watching the Godless Iowans channel.
Oh,
So you open up the channel and you look at the content and you go, "This is going to be quality content." And then after about 2 minutes in, your dick goes soft.
And then there's sand everywhere.
How did you last 2 minutes?
And then there's sand just everywhere.
Godless Iowans channel is like sand, except it's corn. Corn gets everywhere.
Oh.
Just each one's just a little kernel out at the end. Yeah, little corn.
This Iowan, what are your best and worst parts?
My absolute favorite part of the film is probably the fact that there's no pod racing. And then my least favorite part is the sand dialogue. It's just awful. It's just the worst.
Is it as bad as sand?
It's worse than sand. It's like watching Cirrus's content, which is a good. It works as a good enema because he just shits all over the
place. You and Cirrus should just get a room and have done with it.
All that sexual tension that we needed between Padme and Anakin is between Cirrus and the Godless Iowan.
Well, the thing is, it's funny because Iowan does a lot of butt stuff, and he was just talking about shit on Cirrus' channel, so they're parents.
Yes.
They go.
It's a common theme.
Iowan thought that 2 Girls, 1 Cup was a documentary.
See, Cirrus has people on his channel and makes them look like a meth head.
Always remember Caffeine Gate.
Right, just 1 second. I have been asked to explain what the pair is.
Oh, okay.
Someone explain what the pear is.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say it is a fruit.
I have a good analogy.
It was supposed to be.
It's supposed to be. That's about all I can say. I didn't watch the fucking movie, so.
You got it.
It was supposed to be.
A pear, a kind of what it was a pear that was badly animated, floating through the air by the power of the Force. And
why not just fucking string a pear with a string and do it practically?
It would have looked better if there was a pear with a visible string on the top.
Yes. And Anakin says, Obi-Wan would be very grumpy if he saw me doing this.
The audience
is that what he says when he masturbates?
From a movie making perspective, how is it not easier to CGI out the string rather than CGI an entire fucking pear? I don't understand.
Then they had to get it onto the
they CGI'd. Yeah.
Oh, fucking hell. Okay.
No, they CGI'd in the entire film, that's why.
My favorite bit, I think, was the duel between Dooku and Obi-Wan.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And but I think
Master Kenobi, you disappoint me.
But I think
General Kenobi.
That's episode 3.
I know.
We're going to get there, but the worst part for me was when Anakin massacres all the Sand People, and for me, as far as I'm concerned, that should have been a major red flag for Padme.
Right?
I killed them. I killed them all, not just the men, but the women and the children. Okay, and
she's like, you know what? This is not a problem whatsoever.
No, she heard that and she just went, "That's hot.
Here's my vagina."
That is fine. I like it down here.
You see, she didn't like Sand People either.
If that was me, I would have said something like, "Oh, Okay, I'm gonna walk over. I'm gonna walk over there now.
It's just him right there.
But no,
Just say to him, it's okay. It'll be okay. You stay here. I'll bring you some pears, and it'll all be fine. And then you go and get on your spaceship that's made of mirrors, and you fly off, and you never come back.
Yes.
Oh, by the way, that spaceship's too shiny.
Yes, exactly.
The
there's gotta
spaceship
be
is made
some-
of pears.
Is there some kind of like cosmic car wash where they just come up and like spray your windows and everything for you?
Yeah, probably.
Because the thing is perfect.
Yes.
You can tell what their favorite internet browser was. Chrome.
Chrome.
But skidoosh.
Ba-dum-bum-bum.
And so I guess we'll end it there. Well, thanks for joining. Thanks for dropping by, guys. And thanks to everyone who's watching at home. And if you've liked this and you'd like to see more, then give this video a thumbs up and hit the bell icon and subscribe. And bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
And may the force be with you.
And may serve.